And hello, everyone. Happy Friday, the week before our Thanksgiving week. Welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I'm your host, Coach Helix, and with me, my amazing co host,
Stephen Frederick.
Stephen the Medium, my husband, and recently our Christmas elf because you've been very busy decorating our home for the holidays, and you've done an awesome job with
Christmas
all of our
elf.
trees. Yes,
Yes, Christmas elf.
elf. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
Christmas elf. I'm just
You just finished which tree number? Number 11.
number. No, I think that was 10. I think.
Okay, well,
Yes,
and he's done them all. So,
yes, I have.
how are you, Stephen? Exhausted?
Well, clearly, I'm very tired because these little legs on this elf. I've been running up and down the stairs and putting these trees together. But I love it, and we're almost done. We are, our goal is always to have everything up and done and decorated for Thanksgiving, and we're definitely just about there. The big thing we have is the big tree, right?
That'll get done.
In the dining room. So,
Yeah.
and that's a little bit different than the other trees I can put up and I have and decorate, but the big one is a little bit different because the year we met, Elix and I met in 1993, at Christmas time I gave him a Christmas ornament, and that started a tradition. So in 94 I gave him another one, and so we just keep going, and I have not missed one. They're all in their own boxes and they're labeled, they all have names. So our tradition is I line them up from 93 up until this year, 2025. And I hand him, starting with 93, the Christmas ornaments, and I read what the name is, and then he puts it on the tree. So we have to do it together, and Elix knows I got one for 2025 because I sort of usually reveal it at Christmas time when now this time when we're putting the tree up. But he was with me when I got it.
Reveal it. I know, but I don't remember. Did you
Exactly.
show it to me?
No. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. You've seen it. Usually you don't, but these were very different circumstances of why we have this ornament. So that's why you've seen it. So you know what? Maybe you didn't. Maybe I got it, but you didn't see it. I don't know. All I know is that you're not seeing it until we do this tree.
I don't think I saw it. I really don't.
Well,
So,
usually you don't.
yeah. So it's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful surprise.
Yes.
And I can't wait. And our lights, our Christmas lights, they turn on tonight. So I'm super outside lights. That is.
Yeah, we have a company that comes in and puts the lights on outside, and everything inside is done between the two of us. But yeah, today has been busy. I left early this morning and did like almost a 5 mile run, and came back in. I had a reading, which I normally don't do on Fridays, but I had to do like a makeup reading, which was amazing at 10. And then as soon as I finished that, I started doing more Christmas stuff. So Stephen is tired, but in a good way. And I'm really excited because tonight we're meeting for dinner with our amazing friends, John and Krista. So I can't wait.
Yeah, we call her Christmas.
She is
because
Christmas.
She lights us up like Christmas, like the Christmas season. She's fun. Is there anything you want to say?
No, I'm just trying to get over the phrase, she lights us up like Christmas. That was a doozy, as my mother would say. So,
Well, like Dave, our producer, would say, I'm just cool like that.
no, I think you're trying to do this with too much effort. You brought it up. I didn't bring it up, but now that the cat is out of the bag. Meow. Yes. So we're just doing a little conversation. I get on. Elix is already talking to Dave, who's producing. And I'm like, what's up? And he was like, what's up? Like, when did you start talking like that? What are you, cool? So I just said, move along, Betty.
No,
Just
what are
keep
you
going.
trying to be cool?
Yeah,
That's what he
exactly.
said.
Yeah. So
And
his
then he
Christmas-
said he loved me because I don't try to be cool. I'm just cool.
Yeah. Well,
Something like that, right?
yeah.
Hey,
Well,
by
his
the way,
Christ-
Jonathan is in the house. So
John.
Yeah,
Hi, John.
and he agrees that Christmas is a Christmas light.
Of course
So,
she is.
of course.
She's more than a light. I just thought that phrase was funny. So, but let me just finish this.
Okay, go ahead.
Dave's Christmas gift was just sent back. Like FedEx just beeped outside. I threw it out the window and it's going back. So let's see how effortless
Dave.
that is.
We
Poor
love
Dave. Poor Steven.
You know, we love Dave. Let's be nice to him.
Yeah, sort of. We sort of do. Sort of.
So what else is going on with you, Stephen? I know you've been super busy with doing a lot of private groups. So tell people what you're up to.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of requests and have been doing them. And I actually got to be honest, I really like doing private groups. So going to people's homes. You know what's really great about that is that on my end, you know, when I do like bigger events and I get venues, you know, I have to advertise and I'm always watching to see the ticket sales and all of that, right? With a group, they just request, we pick a date, and it's all set. I really do nothing except show up. And what I love about groups, I was in Rhode Island Monday night, is everybody gets a reading. So you have to have a minimum of 10 people or pay the fee of 10 people, because I'm not just traveling anywhere for like a smaller number than that, because it just doesn't benefit me. But it was such a great reading Monday night with, I had, was it 10 or 11 women? I don't remember. They were amazing. A big shout out to Deb, who it was her house, and every one of the readings was just crazy. And I got to tell you, I just emailed her because she emailed me about something I had said in the reading. Her daughter was there, and when I was doing the reading, when I got to the daughter, she was sitting next to her mom. I said to her, "Who's the teen name?" And Timmy. So she got emotional, and she said that was her college. I don't know if it was college roommate. It was. Maybe they lived in a house and it was co-ed. I don't know. Because I swear I think she said college roommate. In any case, so they became very good friends, and then he passed away suddenly. So when the reading was done and I was all done with everybody, she said to me, "Stephen, before you leave, can I show you something?" And I'm like, "Sure." So she ran upstairs and she came back down and she had a notebook and she flipped the page and said, "Look what I wrote here of who I wanted to come through." And I look at the page and it says Timmy.
Wow! Wow!
Yes, it was.
But I'm not surprised. You're pretty amazing at what you do.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
They all got great readings, but it was pretty cool. So that's what I've been busy with. You know, I finished my courses, so I don't start teaching again till sometime in the winter, like in 2026. And I'm busy. I mean, we have like a lot of bigger private groups too. Like I have to go to Methuen in early December, and Dartmouth, I think December 7th. So it's good.
Did you just say we? Because now I'm included in that package deal.
I believe I did.
Yeah, you did. We have a lot of bigger groups too. So that now I'm usually the help, you know, and now I'm definitely part of that package deal. So
clearly,
if you book with Steven, you get to see me as well.
How's that? I mean, that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, of course it's a good thing, and
Sure.
I actually love going with you. Never a dull moment. That's for sure. By the way, kudos. I just said Jonathan is in the live stream, and my cousin Noel is also in the live stream. I think he's in North Carolina, right? Or is it South Carolina?
Hey,
no, I think it's
Junior.
North. So Junior is in the house as well. And Stephen, talking about Junior, this reminded me. I am still very upset about Miss Universe and Puerto Rico not making top 5. So
that didn't make any sense.
Can we take a moment? And if you don't know anything about Miss Universe, we cannot be friends. So I'm telling you that right now. So Google it. Puerto Rico was stunning, stunning, stunning. She should have made top 5. And I'm very upset about that, Stephen.
You know what? If this was several years ago, I would say, you know, if you don't know about Miss Universe, we're not friends. Not anymore, because I'm on my way out. That pageant has changed so much that it's just there's no authenticity with it anymore. It's crazy. And then there was also a controversy already. So we didn't even, once Puerto Rico didn't make last night, we're watching it, didn't make top 5. the two of us, like your mother would do, once Puerto Rico didn't get advanced and USA only made the top 30, we were like upstairs getting ready to go to bed and watch TV. This morning, was it as soon as I got home from running, I think there was a whole thing on the news about the controversy that the pageant was in Thailand, and I guess Miss Mexico was sort of grilled by the Thailand pageant people that she wasn't posting enough on social media to advertise about the pageant. So she lashed back, and there was this big to do, and now they're saying, because of that. But you also said something. What was that? Was even a bigger rumor. What was that?
Well, that one of the owners of Miss Universe is a Mexican business owner who just closed a 50 million deal with the father of the winner from Mexico. So
Yeah, that's not connected.
yeah,
Okay.
it's just very disappointing because when you have a contestant that looked so amazing and she didn't make top five, it's super disappointing. But we live and learn. Puerto Rico is hosting the pageant next year, so that's going to be exciting. So that's something to look forward to. On
Yes.
top of, yes, I am looking forward to the Super Bowl and Bad Bunny. And if you've listened to my radio show, you know Steven and I have already seen Bad Bunny in Puerto Rico in concert, and he is amazing. So if you're one of those people against him performing at the Super Bowl, sorry for you. It's gonna
Well,
be an
that's when
amazing
I can
show.
say you're not my friend. That's an easy one.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Bye
I'm
bye,
subscribed.
Felicia.
I'm subscribed.
Yeah.
Effective. I'm subscribed. Effective immediately. And it's not negotiable.
No, that
And
is
I'm
not.
pleased. I do not need emails or texts or Facebook commentary on the above. It
You know
is
why? Because I'll just sum it up. You know why? Because if you did, they're just stupid. So let's just get it right out there. The arguments make no sense, and it really shows a lot of ignorance. So it's just out there. Just
hopefully,
saying.
yeah. Well, I'm in full agreement with you.
Yes.
And but anyway, Stephen, today we have an amazing show. The title of our show is "The Lies That We Tell Ourselves: Rewriting the Stories We Live By." So, if that's intriguing, then you should tune in, stay with us because I'm about to take a small break. When we come back, we are going to dive in a conversation that I promise is applicable to every single one of you listening. So let's take a small break. We'll be right back. Oh, what? What?
I was just going to say, next time you're talking about a break, can you do me a favor and just say, right after the station identification, we'll be right back? Because I think that sounds pretty cool. It's
Well,
old school.
you just said it. We'll be
All
right
right.
back. Our Dave must be discombobulated. Now, Dave, we will be right back. And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co host,
Stephen the Medium.
Stephen the Medium, who is also Stephen, my husband, and Stephen, the attorney of the household. So, welcome back, everyone. Today, we are diving into a powerful truth. Every single one of us lives inside a story about who we are, what we deserve, what's possible for us. Some of these stories are designed to lift us up, but many quietly hold us back. So today's show is about questioning those narratives that we make up, exposing the lies that we tell ourselves, and learning, most importantly, how to rewrite the story in a way that aligns with our worth, our power, and our potential. So I don't know about you, but I'm in. What about you, Stephen?
Sure. Sure.
So Stephen, this is definitely a conversation. You and I talk about this all the time, and it is a conversation that applies to everyone, every single one of us. We create stories. We relate to the stories as if they're our truths, when in fact they are just a narrative that it's not true. We make it up, but we give it power as if it is. So, Stephen, where do you think those false narratives come from, and what is your experience with some of those lies that you've learned to tell yourself about yourself?
Well, they clearly come at some point after we come into this physical world, right? One thing I
Yes.
know from spirit and doing readings is that, we sign a contract to come back into this world, and we know what we're signing up for. We know what the life is going to be, but when we get here, everything is erased. So we have no idea, because we can't know, right? Because that would just be overwhelming. It would be too much. So we come from a complete clean slate when we're born as babies. And sometimes, actually, though, even prior to being born, because as a juvenile court attorney, after 20 years of representing kids, I have been in hospitals. I remember one experience. I was in Boston Children's Hospital, waiting for a baby to be born, and I was with DCF. I was with the state because this mother, unfortunately, was had substance abuse issues, and they wasn't the first time, and she kept getting pregnant, so they were taking the baby because of just her lifestyle, because the baby already had in its system, after it was born, traces of this choice of drugs, whatever it was. So I think there was I think I was in Boston Children's. Now I'm just thinking of it many times, of pretty much the same sort of thing, and those stories, I think, in those particular cases, like those children or those babies, I think they start even before they're born, because they're already starting in the negative. They're already addicted to some level to something that they had no control in. They didn't ask for it. It was just because of mom, right? So you, at some point prior, or most of us, after we're born, we start picking up this stuff, and we translate it into, we don't think of it, but we translate it into beliefs that we start attaching to, that they become part of our energy, become part of our frequency. And then, as crazy as it sounds, one little ridiculous story or experience that you sort of at the moment may think, well, that's not true, still can sometimes attach to you, and then over time it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think it's just our experiences, Helix. I think depending on what our lives are, that's how we pick this stuff up.
Oh, absolutely. And they are these self-limiting stories, they do come from, at least in my experience, from four major sources. Before I go into those sources, I do want to say, Stephen, first of all, I love that you apply your experience as a medium, your experience with spirit to the conversation, because for me, I also relate to this conversation, as it relates to my experience as a coach. And part of what, a very important part of what I do as an executive coach is I talk to my clients about significant moments, and significant moments that lead to life sentences. And those life sentences is really, they become those stories that we tell ourselves about us that are not the truth. And if you're wondering, okay, so what's an example of that? I'm telling you right now, many of you have been telling yourself, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I am not I'm not a good speaker. I am not an outspoken person. I am not good at parties, and it goes on and on and on. And again, they are self-limiting beliefs that come from, could be conditioning. So, for example, family expectations, cultural rules, societal labels like boys don't cry, boys have to be strong. That's one place where they'll come from. Past experiences, painful events often create those false narratives. For example, something happened, you fail, therefore you label yourself as not good enough, I'm a failure, it's never going to happen. That is a self-limiting story that is not true. Trauma, emotional imprints, and Stephen, you and I have spoken openly about trauma. Trauma rewires us to expect hurt before hope. And that story becomes a shield. I have an ongoing conversation about trauma because one of the things how it impacts me, and that story that I keep telling myself that is not true, is when something happens, I go to, it's going to be bad. And Stephen often has to correct me, like, why are you going to that place? That's because I have that internal narrative, that story, that lie that I've been telling myself for so long. And the longer that I keep telling that lie to myself, now it's no longer a story. It's now my reality. And then also internalized voices. Voices of our parents, what they told us when we were kids. Voices of our teachers. I have a recent client who talked to me about one of the teachers telling him, you're never going to amount to anything. And he carries that voice, has carried that voice with him for years and years and years. He's super successful, but that voice is still very, very active. The voices of people who have been critical of us, or partners who have, said things to us that may have been hurtful. So again, these narratives come from many places, but the point is that they are made up narratives. There is nothing truth about this. So Stephen, what is a story, for example, about yourself that you've repeated for so long, you stopped questioning it before you did this work?
Well, I mean, like sort of the examples you already gave, and most people probably listening and know me know that I was 8 years old when my dad took his life. So that was the biggest story was it was my fault, and which ultimately those beliefs, or as you talk about those self-limiting beliefs, just snowballed, and it was all about you're not good enough. So yes. I went years and years and years and years and years of just, the crazy thing is as humans, we're crafty and we can hide things. So throughout those years, I never ever thought at any level this is because of my dad, or what I'm doing is because I don't feel good enough, or I don't feel smart enough, whatever the case may be, you just keep going on, right? But unfortunately, you still, that's your foundation, and that's how you're living. So whatever your foundation is really externally what you're going to get, and internally also. And that's what I did, and kept going and going and going. And I've said this before. That is the reason why, the sole reason I know now, the sole reason why I became an attorney. I would not be an attorney, I'm pretty sure, and I know you can't go back and say what ifs, but I think I am pretty sure I would not be an attorney, for a profession, putting aside the mediumship, saying that that never came into play. I would not be an attorney. I did that solely driven by, I'm not good enough, so I have to show people that I am good enough. And how can I do that? Oh, if I go to law school and then pass the bar and become an attorney, then you have to say I'm smart enough and I'm good enough, because now I'm an attorney. So that was driven by all this negativity and all these beliefs that were not true. And I'm not saying based on that, like the outcome was not great. I loved representing kids. I absolutely did. But as you know what I'm about to say, that if I wasn't, if my dad didn't do what he did, probably, and I had more of a choice, like based on my authenticity, what I would be is hands down.
I
What is
know.
it? What?
Meteorologist.
Meteorologist.
Meteorologist. Yes. It's
That's
hard for
no,
me to pronounce,
the,
but
the
the person
meteorologist.
who tells the weather. Yes.
Yeah, there's no question. I am a weather fanatic. I love it.
Obsessed
Yes,
with the
and I'm
weather.
watching. I have 17 applications. I just love it. There's no question. And plus, I could have been on the news, like, like Carol Burnett. I could have been like doing the weather, and right before it ended, I could have just done something like wiggle or grab my ear for you to say, hey, no.
Good.
Just saying. But that's my story. That's a story that was, I adopted. I adapted also. I adopted,
Both.
but I
Both.
adapted,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
to this is my life. And when we come back from break, at some point I want to just talk about something very interesting that people are going to want to know, that I found out through spirit in reference to the subject we're talking about.
Beautiful. So let's do a break. When we come back, we are going to explore that story from Stephen, and also we are going to explore why these narratives, these stories feel so true in our brain, even when they're not. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I'm your host, Coach Helix, and with me, my amazing co host,
Attorney Stephen Masick.
Stephen the Medium. And today we are talking about the lies that we tell ourselves, rewriting the stories that we live by. And, we're going to go into a story that Stephen wanted to share with us, and then I want to talk a little bit about the neuroscience of that self-narrative. So, Stephen, go ahead.
So I think this is really interesting. So from doing the work that I do as a medium, and I do readings all the time, and I've done this for a number of years now, one thing that I've learned, and you can actually research it, there's a lot of different names for it, but to make it easier, one of the terms is parallel life theory. So I teach this in my courses, and I'm bringing this up because we're talking about the subject of picking up these stories and believing them, and that really dictates to how we live our lives, right? And the experiences and our decisions. But there is a parallel life theory that means every single time, and it's part of quantum mechanics, but I mean, that's just a word. But what the essence of this is that every single time you make a decision, and say it's either left or right, and I'm just putting this in simple terms. If you go left, then because you had that choice and didn't take a right, there is a universe, a parallel universe that's created with you that took a right. So that now you have parallel universes of you that took the left, and then there's another one that took the right. And of course, the stories and the journeys are going to be different just by that one different decision. So a better example is, say that you wanted to, your whole life you wanted to be a nurse. But because of circumstances and experiences as you were growing up as a kid and whatnot, you picked up these stories that you're not smart enough. You're not going to be able to go through nursing school. You're not going to be smart enough to get into nursing school or to take the boards. So you don't. The decision, when that is made, there is a parallel universe that's created that you don't have those stories. You come from an authentic place, and you go to nursing school. I bring that up because just remember that even if at this point, and you just say, well, I've lived this long, how can I change this? Or, it's not going to change the past. It's not. But knowing that if you start taking inventory and you start knocking out these beliefs, these stories that are not true, it's good to know, I think, that there is a parallel life, that you didn't follow that. You weren't led by fear, you were led by love, and that it's a parallel universe that you can start actually not only thinking about, but you can start extracting from it. Like, oh my God, so right next to me is another life that is exactly what I wanted to do, I'm doing, and you can sort of start turning this life towards that parallel life. Eventually what's going to happen is you're going to merge them. That doesn't mean that then you're going to go to nursing school and become a nurse, but overall you're going to get closer to that universe, other life. And I think it's a good thing to know that, there's hope and there's joy knowing that there's another life that was created that is doing exactly what you wanted to do, minus the fear.
And what I heard is that we have the power to make that happen. That choice is always there for us. That's really awesome, Stephen. So fascinating and so true. Now, from a neuroscience perspective, our stories feel real because our brain is wired to prefer those familiar patterns. And the brain is designed to cling to an old story or painful story because it feels predictable. Predictable feels safe even when it's designed to limit us. Now, there are, from a neuroscience perspective, neurological perspective, there are patterns to keep those false stories alive. One of them, I call it the confirmation loop. That's when we notice only what supports the narrative we already believe. So if you believe you're not good enough, it's what's going to keep showing. And you and I, Stephen, talk often about the fact that our words create our reality. If you say, I'm not good enough, then your life is going to show up as not good enough. If you say, I'm broke, life is going to show up as broke. You're never going to have an opportunity to not be broke. So again, notice that is a real thing. That's based on neuroscience. There's also the emotional tagging. Strong emotions attach themselves to memories and create identity. I'm very open about my story. I was a latchkey child, and I often attach my emotions about not being good enough or being less than or not worth it to those memories as a latchkey child, memories that really didn't serve me. Then there's that repetition wiring. Our brain strengthens whatever thoughts we rehearse, even when they harm us. So if you keep saying, I'm not good enough, guess what? That's what your brain keeps repeating, and that's what your brain is going to believe. Not smart enough, not happy enough, not whatever, blank enough. You fill in the blank. You know that oftentimes we do have those, very self-limiting narratives that, we invented when we were young people, and we carry them on today because we carry them on as if they're the truth, except they're not. But here's the good news. There is neuroplasticity, which means that we can rewrite the story at any time. That's work that I do with every single one of my clients, rewriting, our story. When we challenge a belief, offer new meaning, and practice new thoughts, the brain begins to shift towards truth, possibility, and empowerment. So, that is an opportunity. Every single one of you have an opportunity to rewrite your story. What are your thoughts around that, Stephen?
I think what you just said mirrors exactly what I just said, but just in
Yes.
different terms. Because when you're talking about rewriting your story, all I'm hearing in my head is you're just starting to turn the wheel towards your parallel life that did what the authentic part of you wanted to do. And so it's doing everything what you just said, but it's I'm sort of, because I'm talking in the spirit world, it's just a little bit different. But it's the same thing, really.
Yeah. No, I love, Stephen, that we look at it through our own wealth of knowledge. You're an expert in spirit, and I'm an executive coach, but we both get to that same conclusion. And I just love that, and but here's a question, for our audience who are listening. What I'm inviting you to ask yourself: what beliefs about yourself feel true only because you've repeated it for years? Again, what belief about yourself feels true only because you've been repeating it for years? Think about that. For me, I repeated for years that I was not worth it. And that translated into I put everyone else before me. Did I not, Stephen?
Yes.
All the time. Everyone came first. I compromised everything about me to put others first because I didn't believe I deserved to be first. And that was my story. And I repeated that for years and years and years. And then Stephen came along. And Stephen was like, no, that's not how we're going to do it. You are going to learn to put yourself first. And it was super uncomfortable And I'm still not a master at that because I still get plenty of reminders from you. But but it's something that the more I practice, the better I get at it. What about for you, Stephen?
Well, the better you're leaning again towards your parallel life, right?
Yes,
Getting to the
yes,
place that you want to go. I was going to say before I answer the question, it's all different levels too of what we're talking about, because something as simple as, and I'm sure almost every one of us have heard this from a friend or a family member. You bring up something like a plant and you have someone say like, oh, my wife, forget about it, you bring the plant in the house, it's a death sentence. Or, oh, no, no, I can't get a plant, I'll kill it. And that's a story that's on a simple level. And let me just tell you quickly why that's such a story and why it's not real. Even though people, like you just said, Elix, just think it is because they keep telling themselves it is because they had an experience that the plant
yes,
died. So when you come from that place and you say, I'm going to try something, I'm going to try it again, and you still have that belief of what I just mentioned, your universe says, all right, well, she or he wants a plant that they're going to kill. So let's make sure when they go into the nursery that we direct them to the plant that is the plant that their house, apartment, whatever, is the worst possible condition for this plant. And the universe brings you right to that plant. Oh, I'll try this one, knowing darn well that there's not enough light, there's too much light, it's not warm enough, it's not cold enough. And lo and behold, within how long, the plant's dead, and that belief is then cemented in. See, I am not good with plants. And it has nothing to do except for what you're telling your universe, telling yourself in that fake belief that you've got.
I love that because you can translate that, remove plant and put anything, any part of
Yes.
your life,
Yes.
and you get to um, the same outcome.
Yes.
But the next outcome for us is we do have to take a commercial break, or as Steven says, station identification break. But when we come back, we are getting to the last segment of our show. So that means we're going to talk about the golden nugget, the takeaway of today's show, how to become the author of your story instead of the character reacting to those old scripts. So let's take a break. We will be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I'm your host, Coach Elex, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen the Medium.
Stephen the Medium, Stephen my husband, Stephen the Christmas elf. It's in the house, and today we are talking about the lies that we tell ourselves, rewriting the stories that we live by. And let's see, let's talk about rewriting our story. Transformation really begins when we take ownership of those stories. You know, we're not our past stories, we're the narrator. And narrators can rewrite any chapter. And I that is, an important part of that chapter. And I actually think, Stephen, this is also very connected to what you said earlier about really having that ability to choose that parallel life. What do you think about that, Stephen?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I was thinking that if you said to me, which you probably would have, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to bring it up now.
Go ahead.
What would be the one thing that you could give the listeners? And that would be it. It would be, sit down and just think of, even if you don't believe in parallel lives, just pretend that there is a parallel life for decisions that were the opposite of what you made here. And just think, if you looked at a parallel life, that all those decisions were made from your authentic soul, that you never picked up these beliefs and why you're here, the meaning of why you're here and your passion and your purpose, you followed. What would that look like? And then when you figure that out, you start backing into how then to start chiseling away at this life to get to that life.
I love that, Stephen. I remember when we were in Puerto Rico, we were running. I'm pretty sure we were running, and we had this conversation, and you use some metaphor. I'm not, maybe you remember exactly, but it was a metaphor of, looking at yourself. Do you remember the conversation, Stephen?
Of course.
So you want to tell people what that looks like? I'm not going to do it justice.
Are you talking about like what I was talking about before you get out of bed?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I said this to anybody on your show, Elix, but I was saying to Elix that when you're waking up in the morning, you just before you get out of bed, just look at the foot of your bed and just see two of you. Like almost like two clones came walking out of your body physically and are standing. Their backs are to you. There's one to the right and there's one to the left, but it's you. You can clearly see you're staring at them, and it's the back of you, right? And the left one is the version of you that is going to let everything today that's going to happen be led by the external environment around you, meaning that you have no idea how today is going to go. If you select, and this is all about a selection process before you get out of bed, if you select and go with the left one, that means you have no control of anything that's going to happen today. Anything that's all driven by external stuff. You're waiting to hear that I look good or I did a good job at work. And depending on what that validation is going to determine how you feel. So you really have no clue, no control, and it's most likely going to be a crappy day as opposed to looking at the person, you on the right, and that's the person that your day is going to be created by your internal structure, meaning that it does not matter what happens externally. You're starting this day out in this morning internally saying, this day is going to be the best day. There's going to be greatness. There's going to be miracles. And so it doesn't matter what happens externally. And it doesn't mean when you do that, you're going to have a perfect day, right? You could still pick the right you that's on the right and go to work and just get right in the morning, get slammed at something at work, let's just say. But I guarantee you the difference between your responding to that, if you pick the right one, versus the left one is going to be monumentally different. It's not going to hit you the way if you went with the left and thought everything externally is going to decide my day. It's just not. And you may say, but it's the same experience. But I guarantee you it's just not, because you're not letting the external forces determine what your day is going to be like. You've already started that. You've already decided on the internal part. And once you pick the right, because I can't imagine anyone picking the left, I do this every morning. And then my right side just looks at the left side, and I usually just kick the left one out the window, and I'm like, done. And that's what I shared.
I love that. I remember that conversation, and it got imprinted in my brain. Now, from an executive coach perspective, if you were a client and we were working on shifting that internal narrative, here's a few things that I would ask you to do. First of all, name the lie. So you have to identify, what the story is before you can change it. So is it I'm not good enough? Is it I don't deserve? Is it I'm not worth it? Is it I'm not smart enough? Whatever that is, name it. The next thing you want to do is you want to identify where that comes from. Where does that story come from? How old were you when you believed that you created that story? And you can get there by identifying the moment or the voice that planted it. For me, I can tell you, I remember being like 7 years old, being at one of my family Christmas gatherings with my grandma, which was the matriarch of our family. And we had a bunch of nieces and nephews and my cousins, and I was in line, and everyone is waiting to get a blessing from grandma. And when it got to my turn, she walked away. And as a young boy, I began. That was when I started. That was the moment I created, oh my God, I must not be good enough for her. I must be less than. I must not be worth it. And from that 7 years old, I held on to that story, to that narrative, and I began over the years. It was no longer a narrative. That became my reality. So again, find out where the story comes from, how old you were, and name the moment and the person who planted it. The next thing is then once you have all of that, then that's your opportunity to replace it with a new narrative. So choose a story that's grounded in truth, worthiness, possibility. And like Stephen said, we all have the power of choosing which person are we going to step into, which life are we going to step into every morning. So if your narrative is, I'm weak, I'm less than, you could replace it with, I am powerful and expansive. If your narrative is, I don't deserve love, you can replace it with, I am worth it of love that meets me where I am. If your narrative is something like, I always fail, you can replace it with, my growth matters more than perfection. So again, whatever that is, listen, there's no right or wrong. There's no perfection here. You just want to rewrite something. By the way, the first narrative was made up anyways. You made it up. You made up some story that doesn't serve you. So this time you can now make it up, but make it a story that actually serves you. Make it a story that actually empowers you, because it's all made up anyways. What are your thoughts, Stephen?
Oh, I love that. I think that's great advice. And I would also add, when you do realize, as you just said, naming it and figuring this out, it's okay to get a little mad at it. Get a little mad of the version of you that you want out, the version that believes in this stuff. Just get angry. Listen, I just said when I picked the right Stephen, I kick the left one out the window. So that's a little physical, but it's okay to just get upset, and I mean by upset or get mad, meaning that okay, I this is going to fuel me to get out of that old version and bring me to again to my authentic self, to be in sync with my soul. That's what we want, because that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, and you and I, we've been practicing at naming the source. So you and I, when we are having conversation, we say, this is the adult, Elex, the adult Stephen, not the young person, because the young person is the person who's living, who comes from that old story, that old narrative that is designed to not serve you. So again, that is also a very important part of the process. So, we are at the top of the hour, and, I'm hopeful that we walked away, or you walked away, learning that the stories that we tell ourselves can either limit you or they can empower you. And they're not your destiny. They are just interpretations, and interpretations can be rewritten, and you ultimately have that ultimate power to rewrite it. So I hope that you do. I hope that you listen to Stephen's advice, and that you gain a lot of value from being here today. And Stephen, with that said, tell people where they can find you, and anything else you want to say to close the show.
Just go to Stephen the Medium on my website or any social media. I'm under Stephen the Medium, and you can figure out what I'm doing, and you can book appointments. And I say happy Thanksgiving to every single person that hears this.
Beautiful. And you can find me at Coach Elex anywhere on social media. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dave, for producing our show. Thank you, WARA, and the entire staff for all that you do for us. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone.